Good morning and welcome to day 16 of 100 Days of Sewing. My name is Catherine Wilson from Queenie Quilts and I'm here to talk to you about a couple of things. Number one, the big boy over here. This is Coral Reef. So this is Judy Niemeyer's new technique of the month that was released just this last month or so. And I just got mine back from the quilter yesterday. So it has been with Mona Beck. She really got it turned around super quickly. I finished it, I think, about 2 weeks ago. And it's fantastic. I absolutely love it. The designs are by Carrie Barone, quilting by Mona. But I did want to talk about a couple things regarding this quilt. Number one, we are going to have classes for this quilt over Zoom starting the 11th of April. So I'm going to put all the class information in the description. And you can contact me using the information there if you want to take a class for this project. Second up, I want to talk about some decisions that I made in making this quilt that are important if you're making one on your own at home or are trying to figure out how to read some of the different option instructions. So number one is the center. So the center is made up of two blocks, a right and a left side. My left side is blue, my right side is pink. You can make this quilt in any combination of those centers. So there are several versions out there that have either just this side or just that side, or have a solid block here. So in my case, it would have been a solid black. And I actually did look at that as an option, but I just thought it was too much black in the middle. So that's option number one, right? Option two is how you deal with these. So in the pattern, you can make these individual fabrics, so they could be scrappy. Or you can do them all out of one fabric. I really did mine out of one fabric because I really wanted some cohesion in the middle. The third option has to do with this component right here. If you look at mine and you look at some of the other ones online, there's a teardrop shape that could go here, basically. And there's a large one, a smaller one. I think there's 5 total. I chose not to do that because it didn't fit in the feel of my quilt, because my quilt is primarily small prints and solids. I just kind of felt like it was competing, so I left them off. The next option is this big leaf. So this leaf, you could do, I did my left side as a solid piece of fabric and my right side with the veins. You can do that combination on either side. So it comes with the papers to put veins over here on the left. It also comes with the stuff to just do a solid here on the right. So that's a decision you're going to need to make. The next one has to do with this unit. So this round arcing unit. I did mine as 2 separate units. I designed it that way. It's what I really wanted to see. But I have seen several people who have made this circle be continuous. So they've done either an ombre that goes all the way around the circle, or they've done light, dark, and make the circle basically a full circle as opposed to 2 different components. Then of course you have the next option, which is always size. So this one is the wall quilt, so the smaller. It is still a very large quilt. It's 80 by 80. So it is still very large, even though it's called a wall quilt. The queen size is 99 by 99. So there is a pretty significant difference. However, the difference comes out here in the border. The center of the quilt is identical. So only the border application is different. The other thing you have to look at is how you're going to deal with these stripes, right? So I did them very stripy. They are very bold. It's a hot pink solid and a black solid. Those get softer and not quite as austere if you use a print or 2 printed fabrics. And several people have done them without the stripes in them. So not piecing those components and just letting them be a single fabric that just breaks up the 2 background areas. The other thing is how you deal with that background corner. So you have the inner background, which is this corner here and that corner over there. And then you have the outer border fabric. Mine match. I wanted it that way. I wanted them to be very subtle. I could have gone with a dark border. I could have gone with a whole bunch of different applications for the border, but I really wanted my border to disappear and the middle of the quilt to look like it was spinning. And so I made the choices that I made. So we're going to go over those choices in a pre-class option in detail in just a couple of weeks. So the first week of April, we're going to actually make another version of this quilt in 2 colors so that you can see all the different decisions that you might make and why you might make them to help you better allocate which solution you want and which look you want, because they do create completely different looks, which is one of the things that I love most about Judy's patterns, is that how you color them, how you deal with your values of fabric are just as important, if not more important, than the colors. You can make this thing spin to the left, you can make it spin to the right. There's all kinds of amazing things you can do with this quilt that make it more modern, that make it more traditional, that give it a look that's all your own. And that's really what I always want in my, I love kits, don't get me wrong. I love to buy a kit and not have to make decisions. It makes it very easy when you're just remaking something that someone else has made. But I really love to design my own, to make it mine, so that mine doesn't look like someone else's, that doesn't even resemble somebody else's. So this is my coral reef, and I look forward to hearing what you guys think about coral reef and whether or not you guys are interested in classes. So read the description below, get more information, let me know what you think. If you have any questions, let me know as well. But so that's coral reef for today. Second up today, we are going to go through Baby Star and assembling those diamonds. So I'm going to turn you guys around, get you down on the tabletop, and get ready for that demo. So I'll see you in just a minute. All right, so we have SS1, SS2, and SS3. We're going to turn SS2 onto SS1. Line up those smart corners. Make sure everything is nice and flat. But to get that really pointy diamond, we want to pin with a straight pin. And this is the one case where I do use a longer straight pin. And I'm going to pin straight into this intersection. Okay. And if I did it right, it will come out exactly on the one in the back. And I'm off a little bit, so I'm just gonna take that apart and move it just a little bit. I want to come in right on that intersection. Okay. And I'm gonna, the reason I like a longer pin in this scenario is because I want to leave that pin sticking in just like that. And go to the second intersection and do the same thing. So I'm going to line this up. I'm going to take that pin. I'm going to pin straight down and hope that it's correct. And in that case, it is, so I'm not going to make any change there. I'm going to do the same thing at the 2 corners. So I'm going to go to this corner. Take my pin and go straight through. And it looks good. Okay, then go to this top corner and do the same thing. Now the key here is what I do next. All right, I need to find a long pin for this one. All right, short pin's gonna have to do because it's all we got. So I'm gonna put this straight through, make sure it comes straight out, and it didn't at that point, so I'm gonna take this back and line it up. And sometimes it takes me, sometimes I get them straight on, no problem. And sometimes it takes a couple of times to get it right. And you're better off to use the couple of times to get it right than to just leave it. Otherwise, they will not come out straight. Now, I'm going to very gently leave this pin in, which I have not turned, and gently pull this paper out. And I'm going to take the paper off of this whole side. Now, it's important to note that you do not want to take the entire paper off here. You only want to take this side of the paper off. because this side, you're going to sew to something else and you want your marks to still be there. So I'm going to take this off like this. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the back side. So I'm going to pull this paper, take this paper off, make sure you're taking them off of the correct side. Now on this one, this back side, which is SS1, you'll also see that there's a TRP over here on this side. That's the other reason I don't want to take the paper off of that side. I need that mark later on. And so I'm just going to gently ease these papers off. Now, once I've eased those papers off, I'm going to turn and look at it from this edge. I'm going to look at this edge and make sure that that fabric is straight. And if it is, I'm then going to pivot my pin. Now, how you pivot your pin depends on which way your fabric wants to flow. On this one, mine wants to go that way, but that's not always the case. This one I think is going to want to go the other way. Yeah, it does. So this one wants to go this way. And I really don't care which way the pin goes in, as long as the fabrics stay straight and the intersection is withheld. So as long as those are true, then I don't care. And you see that one is making this one off by a little bit. So I'm going to pull this pin, which I know is at the right place. I'm going to reline up that corner. There we go. And I think maybe this one wasn't quite trimmed quite perfectly. That's okay. Just gonna reset that little one. Okay, so now I'm gonna take this to my machine and I'm gonna sew using my 1/4 inch foot. And I'm gonna take out the pins as I approach. So when I set my presser foot down, this pin is going to be under my presser foot. But I do not want to sew with the pin in, so I will take it out. I'll set my needle down out here. I'll then remove this pin and then slowly sew down this straight line. Now, it's also important that you sew slowly. Just the force of your machine from the time you take your pin out until you actually get to the intersection can make that intersection off. So it is important that you slowly take the pins out and you slowly approach those intersections. So I have one here that I've sewn already. So you can see I sewed straight down, took the papers off the SS2 side and the SS1 side. And then when you open them, those points are perfect. Now, the first thing that people look at when they open these is they go, oh, my point isn't perfect. And what they're looking at is the fact that they have not pressed this piece yet. And there's still, or could be, still be paper in the way. This one has a little paper a little high, so it could be in the way. So we'll take it out. And just that little amount of paper will make that look like it isn't quite straight. But in reality, these are very, very straight. And once they get pressed, they'll look even better. So that's essentially how you do it. Take your time, go nice and slow, assemble 2 onto 1. And once you've got that done, then you're going to take an SS3 and put it onto an SS2. Again, you're going to take, once you've pinned it, you're going to take those components of paper out. Make sure you don't go too deep because you need that TRP, the line right there. And take them off of the back side of 2 as well, and then sew them. So take your time. If you're worried about this TRP line and taking this paper off, you can go ahead and sew that TRP line now. So that TRP line is used later to attach the background and the blocks together. So you can go ahead and stitch it. If you stitch it with a 3.0, 3.5, a nice big stitch. And especially on these, I like to sew them with an alternate color of thread. So a hot pink, a yellow, something you can easily see and easily find, and then easily pick out before you get it quilted, because there's really nothing worse than having to pick out TRPs after you've quilted something because you left them in there because it's just a pain in the neck. But sometimes you do have to do it because you forgot. Ask me how I know. Anyway, so give those a quick sew together tonight, and I'll meet you back here tomorrow with all of these sewn, and we will build out the rest of this quilt. All right, I'll see you back up front in just a minute. That's it for today in the sewing room. I have a lot of homework to do. I did get this bound this morning, so I don't have that one to do, but there's a lot of work to be done. I do have a couple other things going on other than Star Baby. I got started yesterday. I had talked last week about my Pineapple Crazy blocks, and I've got a whole bunch of them done, but I do want, my goal is to have half of the blocks done by the 1st of April, and then make the rest of the blocks in April and May. So that's about 50 blocks a month, which comes out to like 12 blocks a week. So I did get started on those. So I got 4 rounds done. So my goal is to get a white and a colored round done every day, basically. So, because if I can get that done on 12 blocks, then I will stay on track. So that's my goal. We're going to see where it gets to, at what point I get distracted or something new and nice and fun, more exciting comes along. So that's where we are. I'll see you back here tomorrow for some more fun. All right. Have a great night. This is Catherine Wilson from Queenie Quilts signing off.